Alright everyone, buckle up. Episode 160 is officially live. Jenny, are you braced for a topic that involves, well, a fair bit of bureaucracy, but trust me, it's kind of fascinating?
Bureaucracy and fascinating in the same sentence? Okay, Mark, you've definitely got my attention. What are we unraveling today?
So we're diving into Aurigo Masterworks Cloud and their recent achievement, FedRAMP Authorization. Now, before your eyes glaze over at the acronyms, this is a genuinely big deal, especially for how the federal government manages huge-scale infrastructure projects.
FedRAMP. I've heard that term floating around. Isn't that related to security for, like, cloud services?
Bingo! FedRAMP is shorthand for the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. Think of it as the U.S. government's standard rulebook that says, hey, if you're a cloud service provider and you want to handle federal data, you must meet these really strict security standards.
Got it. So it's like the government's official stamp of approval, but specifically for cloud security providers who want to do business with them?
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. And it's not just a quick inspection. They have a process. You start by proving you're FedRAMP ready. Then you become in process. And finally, you get authorized. Aurigo has reached that top tier, getting their authority to operate the ATO from a major player, the Federal Highway Administration, the FHWA.
Getting an ATO from the FHWA. That sounds important. What's the significance of asterisk, that times particular agency, giving the go-ahead?
This is where it gets interesting. Think about the massive transportation and infrastructure projects the FHWA oversees. We're talking about networks of roads, bridges, tunnels across the country. Huge, complex, critical stuff. For Aurigo to get the ATO times the FHWA means they've been vetted by an agency that handles some of the most sensitive data and critical infrastructure assets.
Okay, so it's a strong endorsement from a particularly demanding customer, essentially. And how does that authorization extend to other federal agencies? Do they still have to start from scratch?
This is one of the biggest benefits of FedRAMP. Once a cloud service gets authorized by one agency, like Aurigo was by the FHWA, that authorization can be leveraged by other federal agencies. It's called reciprocity. So because the FHWA put in the work for the security assessment on Aurigo Masterworks Cloud, other agencies within, say, the Department of Transportation, or potentially others dealing with capital projects, can significantly fast-track their own adoption process. It really streamlines procurement.
That sounds like a huge win in terms of cutting down on bureaucracy. Which federal procurement is known for being, let's say, deliberate?
Exactly. It drastically reduces the time and resources agencies need to pour into vendor security vetting. Instead of each agency doing its own deep dive from square one, they can check the official FedRAMP marketplace. They see, okay, Aurigo is authorized. They have an ATO from the FHWA. We have a high level of confidence they meet the fundamental security requirements.
That makes a lot of sense. It really feels like it establishes a baseline of trust right from the start. I saw some quotes about this too. Manish Sharma, Aurigo's SVP of Engineering, talked about how this validates their already rigorous internal security measures.
Yeah, Manish's point is truly central. Achieving FedRAMP authorization isn't easy. It demands ironclad proof that you have robust controls for everything, from data encryption and access management to how you handle security incidents. It communicates to agencies, we're not just claiming to be secure, we've successfully gone through a serious, independent, government-backed audit to prove it.
And Pete Olds, their chief strategy officer, mentioned how having this authorization accelerates implementation times. That connects directly to reducing that procurement bottleneck you were talking about, right?
Precisely. If an agency is juggling a large-scale capital project and they need a secure cloud platform now, partnering with a FedRAMP authorized provider means skipping a huge chunk of the security review phase. It takes a substantial amount of risk and potential delay out of the implementation timeline.
So they've got this government stamp of approval, the ATO, and their executives are highlighting the security and speed advantages. Thinking about their broader market presence, I recall seeing that they already manage a considerable amount of assets.
Oh yeah, Aurigo is no small operation. They boast over 300 customers currently, and their software manages something in the realm of $450 billion in assets. These are quite significant figures, indicating they're already involved in some rather substantial projects.
$450 billion. Managing that magnitude is certainly impressive. So with that existing scale, Does this FedRAMP authorization really unlock a asterisk new times level or sector for them?
It certainly does. While they've served commercial clients and likely had some government interactions before, this official FedRAMP authorized status is often a mandatory requirement for winning times large-scale times federal contracts. It places them squarely in contention for major initiatives, such as those funded by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which is directing billions into exactly these types of infrastructure upgrades.
Okay, so it's more than just another certificate to hang on the wall. It's a specific key that grants access to a very important, very large market.
That's the core of it. And they haven't stopped there with security. Beyond FedRAMP, they also hold ISO 22301 certification, which is all about business continuity and disaster recovery, and SOC 2 certifications, which cover security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. It all contributes to a very fortified security posture.
ISO 22301 and SOC 2. So they're not just saying, we're secure right now, but also, we have robust plans in place if something goes sideways, and we meet other key industry security and reliability benchmarks?
Precisely. It represents a multi-layered approach to security and reliability. For a federal agency entrusted with managing data related to national infrastructure, that kind of comprehensive assurance is critical. It demonstrates a deep commitment to security that extends beyond just meeting the minimum requirements.
Thinking about this ethically for a moment. Handling sensitive government data carries a particular weight of trust and responsibility. These certifications seem to address that directly.
They absolutely do. The ethical considerations surrounding government data security are paramount. Security breaches here aren't just about privacy. They can have implications for national security and even public safety, depending on the data involved. So, providers operating in this space take on an immense responsibility, and these certifications are a way of demonstrating that they take that responsibility very seriously.
All right, so Aurigo gets FedRAMP authorized, secures an ATO from FHWA, holds various other significant certifications, and manages billions in assets with their platform. What does the future landscape look like for them in the federal sector? Does this pretty much mean they'll be a go-to provider everywhere?
It undeniably clears the path for more opportunities. The FHWA ATO is a powerful starting point, making them a considerably appealing candidate for other agencies within the DoT and potentially beyond. I think we can anticipate them targeting wider adoption across diverse federal departments that oversee similar large-scale capital improvement initiatives. It's a notable advancement.
It tracks. Once you've successfully navigated these complex hurdles, the route to collaborating with other similar government entities becomes much clearer. It feels like they are well positioned to capitalize on this.
Yeah, they have certainly placed themselves in a strong competitive stance. While the research we looked at didn't provide direct competitor comparisons, achieving FedRAMP authorized status really does distinguish them from many vendors who haven't yet made that specific investment. It represents a substantial barrier to entry that they have quite successfully cleared.
So for any federal agencies out there who might be grappling with outdated capital planning systems and are concerned about the security implications of moving to the cloud, quote, this development with Aurigo is likely something they should give serious consideration to?
Precisely. If you're a federal agency actively searching for a secure, compliant, and proven cloud platform for managing infrastructure projects, Aurigo Masterworks Cloud is now squarely on the select shortlist of providers who have successfully met the federal government's most demanding standard for cloud security. It significantly simplifies the evaluation and decision-making process for them.
That's fantastic insight, Mark. It's really interesting how these certifications, which on the surface sound quite technical and maybe a bit dry, actually have such a real-world impact on how major government projects are executed, how sensitive data is safeguarded, and how efficiently agencies can operate.
Right? It's like the essential but often unglamorous infrastructure for secure cloud integration. It might not be the most exciting topic superficially, but it is critical for building trust and ensuring operational fluidity, especially when dealing with the public sector. This is certainly setting a benchmark for how these types of sophisticated platforms are expected to function securely.
Well, you managed to make a complex topic accessible yet again. Thank you for breaking down what FedRAMP authorization means and why Aurigo's achievement here is worth highlighting. Really good stuff.
Anytime, Jenny. It's always good to see companies investing the considerable effort required to meet these kinds of high standards. It takes dedication. Until our next dive into the details.
See ya!